Next one, ask Rack Cards. Rack Cards. This is a $10 commission sales rep. Quick poll. If I told you you could hire a commission sales rep for $10, who would be interested? Working for you, $10. Not $10 an hour, $10 total. Come on, where's the rest of the hands? Elena, you wouldn't want a commission sales rep working for $10 for you? That's all you pay is $10? Yes, you all will. And by the time you're done this strategy, you'll see why it can be so helpful for you in your business. And you've seen racks in hotel lobbies. These are the racks. That's why I call them rack cards, because they're stuffed in the racks. You see these when you go traveling and you want to go to a hotel, you want to go to Disneyland or water slides, right? You're familiar with what I'm talking about, right? They're typically this size. They look about this size. And that's what you'll have seen in the hotel setting. There's a rack card for this workshop. Right on the left, discover the ultimate way to accelerate word-of-mouth referrals. Join us for this online workshop. And on the back, the content that you would have seen when you signed up. And then, very important, down below, it says this. You see, mention the business below and bring a fellow entrepreneur on us. And then a room for that business person's sticker or stamp, depending on what you do. And then here, call Tom at blah, blah, blah to reserve your next seat. Not an online registration, by the way, a phone call. A phone call, super important. You want this to go to a phone call if you're doing it for yourself, because you want to have that conversation. High tech and high touch. High tech and high touch. Maybe you have to hire someone to take all your calls for you. If you get a lot of these, good problem to have. Simple example. I'm going to tell you the story about this business here. Well, before I do that, let me show you the rack. So this is the type of racks that we recommend you get. They're 4-tier, 4 levels. Right? And you can see they will hold 4 different cards. And when in the beginning, you'll have one offer, you'll put it on all 4 levels. But as you grow, you'll have a couple of offers, you can alternate them. And ultimately you might have 4. And the rack doesn't cost 4 times as much, but it has several advantages. One of which is you're going to want to put it at the front counter, and it's actually going to have a very prestigious place in the business that you're dealing with when you do that. The picture I was showing in the background is an example of how you can take this to a much bigger level if you really want to go all in. And that is, this was an indoor golf training center in Memphis, Tennessee that we built. It was several $1 million. And we wanted to use the rack card strategy to instantly get the word out to the local community. And so we used our hiring and recruiting process to get potential staff members to come in and paid them for a weekend's work. And the first day we trained them on the rack card strategy. And the next 2 days we had them go knock on doors and talk to businesses about placing these racks for our products and services in place. And we placed over 150 racks in one weekend. And this business went from no one knowing about them to every related merchant in that part of Memphis having a rack at their front counter, offering their goods and services, and for a fraction of the price of a single radio campaign that they wanted to run. Literally, I said, listen, instead of running that radio campaign, do this. It was a fraction of the price of one radio campaign. What happens to a radio ad after it runs? Anyone? It's gone, right? I mean, it is fleeting, as fleeting as it gets, radio, and yet people spend money on it all the time. This sits there the entire time. Now, there are some keys to making it work and leverage, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about those, but you will absolutely love this strategy if you put it into place. You can use it locally. You can use it nationally. For national, the same principle applies. Where does your ideal target market hang out in bunches like grapes? Where does your ideal target market hang out in bunches like grapes? What type of business? Is it a fine dining restaurant? Is it a shared office space like Regis Office Centers, right? Is it an accounting firm? Is it a law firm? You got to think about where does your ideal market hang out in bunches like grapes. Find those places and then reward the partners for having that rack involved. Now, some places are not going to have a rack. They're going to pass the cards out, or they're going to insert it in their mailings, or in a fine dining restaurant, they'll include it with the bill, in the billfold. So there's a number of ways to do this depending on where you do that. Some extra for experts tips on this strategy. Staff party funding rather than commissions work wonders. So the simple way to do this is you offer a commission. If someone becomes a client, you give them a commission. Everyone get that? Raise your hand if that makes sense, right? So Elena, let's take yours. If you can unmute, what business, what are you selling? What's your main product or service you're selling? Because you were like, oh, this doesn't apply to me for sure.
I don't know. It's I'm trying to follow everything, but well, I am relaunching my business. I'm a personal coach.
Okay.
I am located in a remote place in Sardinia, Italy.
And who do you want to coach? Who's your ideal client?
They are high achievers, but
high achievers.
I want to do it internationally.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. And are they women or men?
Men and women. And
which relate better with you more? If you had to pick one.
Both.
Yeah, I'd probably, but if you had to pick one, which would you pick? And there's a reason. I'm not telling you to give up on either, but I'm just saying from a marketing perspective, it's a very different audience. So well, let me ask a different question. Do women relate to you?
Yes.
So high achieving women, where do they hang out? Some high achieving women on this call. Give us an answer for Elena. Where do high achieving women hang out in bunches like grapes? In the chat box, let's see some types of places they hang out. My husband bought a bottle of whiskey. No, that was from before. Thanks, Shan. Anyone got a guess? Where do high achieving women, maybe like you, entrepreneurs hang out? Where do you go for fun? Where do you go to relax? Where do you go to unwind? Where do you spend your money for fun? Is the chat box not working? Hello. There we go. Resorts and spas, hot yoga studio, spin studio, wine bar. So I'm just going to take two of those, day spas and wine bars. And yeah, nice coffee shops, Sam, for sure. Tennis clubs, exercise clubs, hair salons. Totally, Natalie. Because you can pick the exact economic strata of the hair salon based on the price that you would charge. Hair salons were our number one source of selling organic coffee when we were in the coffee business. I built 187 coffee bars. I used the rack card strategy over and over. Hair salons, number one place. Why? Because women that care about the enjoyment of life go to hair salons. And when we gave them a free certificate, not a coupon, a certificate for a gourmet coffee, and they could bring a friend, they did. And for 2 8-cent coffees, 23 cents if I had lattes, they brought a friend and they came to our business. It was amazing. Rack cards are absolutely amazing. And that's for coffee where we don't make a lot of money. For coaching, if you had the right message to the right workshop and you followed our lead, Elena, which is donate the proceeds of that workshop to a cause near and dear to that audience's heart, right? Slavery, economic slavery, children being trafficked is an example of one that's sadly on the rise still today. Shouldn't be, but it is. Right? Or some other topic. We do microloans. All of our microloans are to women. My son and I, who's 15, I forgot to tell you, him and I have been doing microloans with Kiva since he was 10. We only lend to women. And part of the reason we only lend to women is that we know in developing countries, they're the best entrepreneurs. They're the best entrepreneurs.
Sorry if I interrupt you. Would it be a good idea if I put this on my website so that if they follow the program, then they will contribute
you can do that too, but this strategy is about finding other places for them to send traffic to you. So absolutely the same principles apply on your website, but here we're talking about referrals, because here's what happens. On your website, it's Elena promoting Elena. At the hair salon, it's the hair salon promoting Elena.
Yeah.
Very different energy, very different authority that transfers with that. All right, let me jump ahead here. There's so much to cover. I want to make sure we do that. Staff parties. I was getting into that. So what normally you would do is you would pay a commission for the sale. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's the easy way in. If you're wanting to get this up and running, it's the easy way in. But better than that, especially if it's a retail store or a business with a bunch of staff, they'll have a staff party at least once a year. If they're a smart business, more than once a year, right? In your gym, Clinton, did you have staff parties? You must have had staff parties on a regular basis because you crushed it. Yeah. How often did you run them?
It wasn't on a schedule per se, but it was on, really kind of timed with promotions that we were doing. We do that kind of stuff. And then of course, Christmas,
Right.
love
So
that.
so normal one at Christmas and then special occasions in advance of some of your marketing. That makes sense because
Yes.
they're all there. You can then present it to them, right? So what we would do is we would say, we can pay you a commission on this, or we can take that same money and contribute it to your staff party fund. Same money, but totally different impact. Why? Because now all the staff knew, hey, if you pass one of these out and they go get Elena's coaching, we get a better staff party. So now when the rack runs out, if it's sitting there and it's almost empty, your sticker's back here, call for more, call this phone number. Guess what? The staff call. You don't have to hound them. Because one of the downsides of this strategy is the cards get used up and you got to refill them. You got to refill them. And it's a pain in the butt if they don't let you know that it's empty. So this worked two purposes. The staff got motivated because now they're your raving fans because it's their party. It's their beer fund at the Christmas party. Literally, in some cases, like literally, not figuratively. I mean, it was literally their beer fund. Well, oh yeah, you know, we had to cut back on the beer last time. This would be great. We wouldn't have to cut back on that. Okay, great. I'm in. That also means, by the way, guess what? Are they stopping it in a month when they're bored with it? Their customers may not be bored with it, but they'll be bored with it. It's been there for a month. No way. It's the staff fund. No, boss, you got to keep this there. Remember, it's supporting the staff fund. Oh yeah, right. It's a really simple, powerful strategy. You'll get tons of leverage with it. It's super easy. It can work in fancy places with proper training. A little tip, if you're using a local printer, we use Vistaprint for this all the time. But if you're using a local printer, make sure they're aware of what's called the grain. Because what happens when you do gloss on the front and matte on the back, which is what we recommend, they will naturally curl. You see the curl? I'm forcing the curl on it. If the grain is done the wrong way, they'll curl in the wrong direction and they'll have to be bending them to fit inside the rack and they'll look really weird. You're wasting your money on that. Just make sure they do that. And here's the key to getting the business on board. This will probably be the single most profitable square foot in your store, Clinton, or in Clinton's fitness center. Clinton, this will probably be the single most profitable square foot in your fitness center. And by the way, when you do the math on this, if you know sales per square foot and do the math, for most businesses, one referral a week will make it the single most profitable square foot in their store. Now, these are not going to get you 20 referrals a day. I mean, if you happen to get a super high volume location, sure, but that's not the norm. Normally, these are low volume locations. You're going to get one or two a week, one or two a week, one or two a week. And they will love you to death and it'll be simple. And if you put 10 out there, then you're getting 10 to 20 leads a week. And if you put 20 out there, you're getting 20 to 40 leads a week and so on. Super powerful, super important. When we get to Q&A, we can answer any questions you have about that.